Coming into this week, it had been about a week since the Cleveland sports team had lost. The Guardians ended up losing on Wednesday, but they bounced back on Thursday with a good win. Hopefully the Cavaliers will do the same thing in game 3. But we'll talk about the Guardians' bounce-back win on Thursday, another series win. And in honor of the NFL draft, we are going to do a 10-pick mock draft tonight. So have a little bit of fun with that. It's time for Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That is $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started today. So I have to turn off my camera alert as the rabbits are going insane in my backyard right now, or it's going to be the whole show, just vibration.
Good
you know, we're gonna have some fun. It's incredible what this team is doing. And again, this was such a perfect microcosm, I felt like, in some degrees of the team this year, where the starting pitching, it was up and down. But man, bullpen for the most part does its job. Some guys are performing well there. You had some real highlights offensively, and we talked about how Freeman has some really good and important data. And I'll talk about why, even though he had one hit, I'm more excited by the walks today. We'll talk about Quan as well, with things like the hits and the walks, and why those walks. Like, Quan is playing like an all-star. Let's be honest. Everyday Justin is you can now put it at a minute 40 that we talked about him. But what's going to allow him to sustain that all-star level is if he's working in these walks, which you've seen in this Boston series, that he is not just relying on the BABIP luck of it all. Yeah, this was, early on we were texting. I stayed home because of the kiddo, but this game, I mean, you only had, yesterday we talked about how it'd be hard to find 3 stars. This game would be hard to find like 3 negative stars. It was such a strong performance and another series win, and just another fantastic win by the Cleveland Guardians.
Yep, 7-1 in series this year. And hey, Oakland split with the Yankees, so for all those people who said that, I guess not a great sign if the Guardians can't beat the Yankees, but Oakland can. I don't know, but and Cleveland crushed Oakland, so I don't know. Not sure what transitive property that proves, but it is what it is. I actually didn't think McKenzie pitched that badly. I know he ran into some issues early on. Yeah, I mean, the control was a little. The strike zone today for the umpire on Thursday was kind of a mess. It was not good. Kudos to David Fry for a good game behind the plate again, but he also had some bad luck too. Had a couple balls that didn't go his way as far as batted ball luck. So I thought it was an encouraging start for the most part.
Do we think the umpiring is worse this year? It's become such a story with things like that ridiculous Wyatt Langford at bat, the overreaction with
Boone.
With Boone. It's like you hear some pitchers talk about like not wanting the ABS, but it feels like umpiring, the ump show of it all has gotten ridiculous this year. And, I was reading the Rosenthal piece. It did feel like, Angel Hernandez should be done. Like, he should have been done years ago. He is the worst. Everyone knows he's the worst umpire in baseball, and he's trying to sue the league saying he's being discriminated against. It's like, no, you're terrible. But I felt like him showing up a rookie in that situation. And it feels like some of these guys make it more about them than about the game. And, the umpiring's just been rough. And, I know that's the Twins fans, if there are any watching, be like, yeah, it's benefited you guys. Yeah, that one game at Cleveland, the umpiring has just been, it doesn't benefit anyone because it's
bad league-wide.
Pitchers and hitters not knowing what the zone is. It leads to inconsistencies for players. Like, it feels like, this feels like a bigger issue this year than in years past. It feels more egregious. That's the word I'm going for. Not agrarian, egregious.
It's not fun. Well, didn't stop the Guardians, though. And if anything, the Guardians, gave themselves a little bit of luck, because Jose Ramirez, let's be honest, has been hitting the ball hard for the last 2 series now, going back to the Boston series last week. And he's just had no luck. So finally today, he had 3 hits, including the grand slam, 10 pitch at bat, and you can almost see it coming. Every time Jose Ramirez has one of those at bats, you can tell he is ready to do something special, and he is taking pitches. He is fouling every pitch off, and I think Sarah Lang said that was like his 4th home run on a 10-pitch at bat in his career, which is incredible. Like, I think only 3 guys have had more than that.
Catcher catches the foul ball, which was in his glove, then how different this game is. Cleveland loses. It's funny how like one play shifts so much of a game.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to find her tweet now, but it was pretty impressive. It was
4th
career home run and a 10-pitch at bat. Only one other Cleveland player has done that, even 2 times since pitch counts were tracked back in 1988. The other one was Casey Blake, which is amazing. But the only other 3 players who've done that in this span more than 4 times are Paul Goldschmidt, Paul Konerko, and Todd Helton. And one of those guys is a Hall of Famer, and Paul Goldschmidt might be a borderline Hall of Famer. So good company to be in, but you can just tell that's when Jose is going to break out of it. He's still not walking, but I assume once he starts, now that he's locked in, he will
and
start.
Locked on.
And locked on, yeah. Well, he'll never be on locked on. Let's be honest. Well, that's probably for 2 reasons. Not just the one we would say, but
no.
Once he gets locked in, though, I mean, this is why I kept saying the offense could get scarier because he hasn't been on yet. And how about Will Brennan? While we're talking about the offense, 2 for 4 with a double and a homer. The double came off of a lefty. His OPS now, I think, is 763. I know that's not like, crazy, but that's pretty darn good from what it was a year ago.
I mean, I'll take it. Like, if he's 763 all year, then that's fantastic accomplishment.
He was getting some bad luck, too, on his batted balls early in the year.
Yeah, and we saw him have, and that was the other story in this game, was like just bad luck. Like, there was a lot of hits, or a lot of balls that were hit that were like, you and I were talking, like Rocchio had like a 490, and in that same inning, I can't remember who, someone else had like a 480 expected batting average and a 490. It's like they had some bad luck, but with Brennan, the defense is already there, and we know that. So if he is, playing this way or close to this, I don't know if, necessarily the extra base streak he has been on. I feel like he's getting an extra base hit nearly every game is what we expect to see with him. But the big thing is going to be consistency. I feel like I sound like an old man now, like talking about it, but like we've seen Brennan get on heaters and then we've seen him like go ice cold. So it's like, can he extend this heater? And even if it's not a heater, can he just stay consistent in terms of not getting super high, super low? Because before this, I was talking, let's be fair, I was talking about like, do we maybe demote him to get him regular at bats? And now he's been fantastic. So if he can be consistent, then this is the guy you and I both had as a top 10 prospect for a reason. You and I both thought was someone who was a future, starting outfielder for this team. So it's great. It's the same thing, with Freeman, and, we'll still have to see with Rocchio, but some of these young guys putting that step forward just completely changes everything.
Yeah. Even the outs today, Will Brennan made. Now, hitting the ball hard isn't everything, but it is important. It does drive how well you can get hits and avoid some bad batted ball.
It's a good chunk of it.
Yeah, I mean, launch angle also comes into this too, which is why Will Brennan's ground out in the 8th inning had a 520 expected batting average, but it was a two launch angle off the ground. That ground ball was hit harder than his home run, which was 102. The home run was 101. His double was 97 off the bat, and his fly out was 92. If you can stay above that 92 range consistently, you'll be in really, really good company. Obviously, you got to hit it where they're not. You can't be, pounding the ground every time, but ever since last week, he hit that home run in Boston. We talked about it before. Stephen Vogt said, Brennan was just getting caught in between. He was kind of not sure, almost like he was guessing. He wasn't sure what he was looking for up there. And now he's, back to hunting fastball, reacting breaking ball, and not so concerned about hitting home runs, but just trying to hit the ball, foul pole to foul pole, like he said. And that's what he's doing. That's the kind of hitter he was in the minors. He might always be, we've said it before, he might always be a guy who chases, but he makes a lot of contact. He doesn't strike out. And if he starts hitting this way, he might be pitched carefully, and it might allow him to be a little more selective at the plate. But he is hitting the ball hard, and that's what you want to see. And I've said it all along. I thought this guy could hit. I was very surprised to see him in the majors be as jumpy as he has as at the plate this year and last year. He looks more like the hitter now than he was in the minor leagues. And he is, a 3 to 4 win player in right field when you combine the defense and the bat he's got right now. And if he can somehow start to hit lefties, that's even more incredible because it reduces your need to platoon him and just creates a lot of exciting things. Also, we should point out David Fry. No hits today for David Fry on Thursday, but two
walks,
walks.
though?
And he had 2 walks. This is a guy who doesn't play every day, and he has the most walks in the team. He has the highest walk rate of anybody on the team. And his defense, once again, just really good. I mean, he had a couple blocks. There was a bases loaded curveball that McKenzie uncorked and got a strikeout on. But if Fry does not smother that ball, it's a run. And those are things that are really important. His throwing has improved. His framing is good. The blocking has been good. David Fry. We're talking about guys who are struggling early. I don't want to say you got to play Bo Naylor because he's got to hit his way out of this. But David Fry might be your best catcher on your roster right now. Like sometimes this happens, but we'll see if he stays that hot. But give the guys credit.
It kind of reminded me of. I know we're running low on time here, but it's like when they had now not to compare in terms of how the players turned out when they had Mejia and Haas, and all the focus was on Mejia, and sometimes Haas didn't get as looked at as much or appreciated, but both were future major league players. In this case,
who's had the better career?
And I think Naylor is the better player. I'm not saying like in that regard. This isn't me attempting to dig on Naylor, but I think Fry is the better defender right now, and I think Fry is a solid defender and probably has always been a little underrated because he's always had other guys shining over him. So I think it's, giving Fry his time is important. And it, go back to a year ago this time when you and I were like, he should make this team because we need a lefty masher, and the lefty masher, better than having, Melbreeze, Valora and Zanino because you're carrying 3 catchers. This is how you carry 3 catchers.
Yeah. So that's what we wanted a year ago and it never happened. Now you can see the fruits of it really well. All right. We come back. We want to talk about why number 122 is important. We'll talk about McKenzie's game, and then we'll talk about the bullpen a little bit more, and then we'll get into that mock draft we talked about. So stick around for that. But figure out while you're waiting why the number 122 might be important to the Guardians. What else is important, Jeff, is moms. Moms are super important, and you can get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 on your next flower order, convenience, grocery, or retail order with DoorDash. Don't be the person who is going to the grocery store or some kind of store at the last minute to get something thoughtful for mom at the last second. Do a little planning ahead for Mother's Day. It's never too late to show her some love. Surprise her with whatever you think she's going to like. Flowers, gadgets, self-care, all in one place, delivered right to her door. So you don't have to go to the store. You don't have to wait. You can do it with the convenience of your phone. Whatever mom is into. If she's into sweets, flowers, maybe she's into gardening, beauty, tech, anything she could be into. Get all your Mother's Day gifts in one place. Get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all caps, using DoorDash today. Terms apply. And a big showdown this weekend in Atlanta with the Braves Guardians. You can hear all the action on your SiriusXM app. Just search Guardians. All right, Jeff, 122. Why do you think 122 matters?
Is that the what they're on track for the number of games to win?
That's the amount of games the White Sox are on pace to lose.
Well, I mean, I think I know when I read the Zach piece, I think that he had today, maybe it was 120 entering the day. So,
yeah,
obviously, they're playing over their head.
That'd be great.
But that's not going to happen. But I still like.
Here's something you can feel even better about. You can feel better about this. That is the Guardians WRC plus of their outfield. They are 7th in baseball in outfield in WRC plus, 22% above league average. Who would have thought? Stephen Kwan, Tyler Freeman, Will Brennan, and you can even throw Estevan Florial into this because he's played a little bit of outfield, mostly a DH. All of those guys, Jeff, are above 100 WRC plus. You've got Kwan at 148, Florial at 143, Brennan 114, Tyler Freeman 109. And if you want to include Gabby played a little bit of outfield this year, 118. That's just unbelievable. We'll leave the fact that Ramon Laureano is an 86 out because I know people are going to bring that up. Or even David Fry. David Fry played a game in left field. But who would have thought, Jeff, that the Guardians, one of the best offensive outfields in baseball through April?
Not I. Never in a million years would I have said that.
Not us.
No. That's it. It's we'll see what happens. Again, we know there's going to be some degree of regression, but it's so much fun right now. It is just awesome watching
No
what
regression.
this team can do.
Nope. They're going to be a top 10 outfield all year, Jeff. Let's just speak it into existence. Will Brennan is breaking out. Tyler Freeman worked 2 walks, okay? David Fry got walked twice. Tyler Freeman 2 walks. If Tyler Freeman is walking and he's going to hit 10 or 15 home runs this year, I feel good about where he's at. Quan, we know Quan is consistent. They're going to be a top 10 outfield. I'm saying it now. I'm buying in. I'm not going to regret this at all. Right?
I'm not saying a word.
I'm not going to regret this at all.
A word.
Right. I some people questioned Tristan McKenzie coming after 4 innings today on Thursday's game. He struck out 7 in 4 innings, but he threw 75 pitches. I actually like the way Vogt did that because they're being super cautious with McKenzie, and you kind of have to be. They've got to get this guy to September and August, second half. You got it because they need him healthy. They need him to pitch well. And the velocity was, I think, up today, if I'm not mistaken, on Thursday. The velocity was, okay, it was up 0.2. It wasn't like it was a great deal. But he got 7 whiffs on the fastball. I know the Red Sox lineup isn't super exciting. He had 13 whiffs overall. Let this guy have some confident outings. Let him feel good about himself. Manage the workload and just hope he gets to the second half healthy because I know it's a lot of tax in the bullpen. But, in the second half, if your starting pitchers are stronger because they were eased in the first half and you've got bullpen reinforcements, I am okay with it.
Yeah, he was missing bats. There were, we talked about the issues early on. It's slight encouragement, but it's just hard because of when he is. I want McKenzie of 2 years ago, right? Like, I don't want this guy who's like
the
borderline.
Version, yeah.
I don't want this guy who's a borderline major league pitcher. So I'm just like, I don't know. Like, hopefully he gets better, hopefully he improves. But it's like, I also worry we're going to spend half the year with a guy who's borderline and then end up losing like 3 years when you could have just lost 2. Like, I'm still fretting over that. This is still a very much a playing with fire situation in my mind.
Yeah. Could be. All right. Quick shot to Scott Barlow. He's been better lately. He had a good outing today on Thursday. Only threw 13 pitches, got through it. So important that he gets going. And then showdown in Atlanta this weekend. Big series. You got Logan Allen Friday versus Chris Sale. So more David Fry on Friday. Saturday, Tanner Bybee versus Charlie Morton. And Sunday, the finale is Ben Lively versus Bryce Elder. Very apropos matchup. 2 guys who don't miss bats. But I don't know. Ben Lively struck out a lot of guys the first 2 outings. Feels weird to say that Logan Allen, Tanner Bybee, and Ben Lively are your best 3 starters going into this series. Like, really hard. That they are. That really are. But it's wild to say.
Yeah, it's speaking of words we never thought.
5.
Yeah, speaking of words we didn't think we'd be saying. Like your sentence there is another one of things that we never thought we'd be saying at the start of the year. Is that? But it's a big series now. Atlanta's really good, and Atlanta's at home. So also, if they lose their second series of the year, let's not fall off. The enjoyment train here. Like
teams, let's easy.
It's we talked about before. It's like we know when this team loses, we're going to lose half the viewing audience because people don't want to rehash, and that is just consistent all year. So it's going to be hard. This is one of the best teams in baseball, and they are playing well. And don't make every series some kind of like. I don't know if I want to say addendum, but I can't think of the word I want, but make it like what the whole year's been about. Don't get your fixation that this one series is the one that's going to redefine the season because you don't because you're just waiting for the bottom to fall out. Like don't wait for the bottom to fall out. Enjoy
Let's
the ride.
be better than that. Let's do better than that. We want to get to this mock draft here in segment 3. So real quickly, let's just shout out the Tugboat. Matt Wilkinson, 6 innings, 15 strikeouts, 1 walk, no hits. I will say, not to rain on the Tugboat's parade because he'd just motor me over if he did, but guys at that level probably are not ready to face a pitcher who can command 3 or 4 pitches at one time and not just control, command. That's not a level that, killers used to seeing that stuff, but hard to deny how good 15 strikeouts is when you face 19 batters. That's That's impressive. Up to 92, by the way.
Him and Messick need to just get pushed up. Like, push them both up, and they can.
There's no reason.
There's no reason not to with those two at this point.
Yeah. So shout out to the Tugboat. Fantastic. That was a fun start and just a fun thing to see throughout the night. I'd love to see him at Lake County soon. All right. Mock draft stuff in honor of the NFL draft. Jeff and I are going to go through the first 10 picks, and we're going to talk about who we think is going to go in each of the top 10 picks. And we got one little draft thing we want to address too about Charlie Condon. So all of that coming up here on the end of Lockdown Guardians.
But first, let's talk about our friends over at FanDuel. Can I make a suggestion right now what not to bet on? That would be, do not take the fourth best odds to win the American League at this point in time. The Houston Astros have the fourth best odds. Seattle at 5, Toronto 6, Minnesota at 7 might actually be worse. 8 for the Rays. Cleveland is up to 9th overall. I thought that was kind of funny to go look out and check out. In terms of the odds. But right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. It's not always that case. It's often win. So this is your chance to get, no matter what, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/locked on and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
And again, as we talked about Friday, that matchup in Atlanta, don't get too worked up, but it should be fun at least. Listen to all the action all weekend long on your SiriusXM app. Just search Guardians. And I was just told by his high school coach on Twitter, it is not the Tugboat. It is just Tugboat. So he's not the Tugboat. Yeah. It's just Tugboat. Just Tugboat. But Tugboat, fantastic night. All right. Some people were asking about the Charlie Condon thing we talked about yesterday about the bonus demands. And I looked deeper into that ESPN article, Jeff, and he had said, the article said it came from a scout that he might top the record $9.2 million bonus from last year, Paul Skeens, at 1 overall. The fact that it came from a scout makes me also wonder if this is a kind of a leak, like a game. Like, is this scout trying to push Condon down the board? Because we know this happens. So just something to be aware of. I don't know we don't know how true this is out. This came from a scout in the article. So you never know what kind of games they're playing.
But so it's, the games aren't really there because you know what happens? The Guardians are going to call and talk to him no matter what. So they're just going to get the real number.
True.
So it's not going to really push a guy down a board. It's not the real number. True. It's not like teams get, it's an ESPN article. No, they do all the research. They're going to talk and see. So I feel like there's a decent chance that is a scout who would talk directly with Condon. And
yeah, maybe.
I just want to point out one thing. Just and I were texting today, and I don't know if it's Condon or anyone else, but when a guy wants to reset value with the first overall pick, that does make me a little concerned. Whoever it is, if that comes up, because at the end of the day, the last time Cleveland had a guy who wanted to reset the value was Lindor, and that pretty much means you're guaranteed 5 and gone. So, yeah, I'm not begrudging anyone getting paid, but some of that language you kind of want to sit back and think about that, right? Like, there is an innate downside to. Because these guys aren't going to sign extensions. Like almost no one who is taken first overall, they get enough money now that they don't need to do that. Like they're going to get 8-9 million, and then they're going to start making money in the big leagues within 3 years. So you're likely not getting any of them on an extension anyways. But yeah.
All right. Well, how do you want to do this? You just want to do back and forth? Do you want to do one or each pick for each one?
I just say we each talk about it and discuss it. I think we got the time built in to do that. So
all right.
First
you go first
overall.
Then.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Who do you think the Guardians go with number 1?
I still think it's Bazana. It's what I did in my mock. Bazana I think the sleeper here is actually Montgomery and not Condon. I think the switch hitting aspect, the overall tool shed, the athletic bloodlines all kind of make him play. The stadium is built for lefties. He's the analytical guy, and they value the cape so darn much. Like that is the thing I can't get past more than anything else is they have spent the last 5 years putting more value on what happens in the cape than what guys do their junior year. So yeah.
And it's especially important this year with the lack of college pitching in the draft. You can't sit there and say too much about that. The pitching just isn't there. And Bazana was going to face better pitching in the Cape than Condon was in the SEC or even himself in the in the Pac-12. But yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to go with Travis Bazzana, number 1 as well. I think that is, it's not a foregone conclusion, but I think it's 50-50 right now, truthfully. But we'll see. All right, number 2, the Reds.
They're an interesting situation because there's part of me that thinks like everyone defaults them to Condon. And it is that thing. It's like I could see the Reds doing something crazy like Jock or Jack. I don't know why I always want to say Jock because it's spelled differently. I kind of think he's the sleeper here. They've had some success with guys like him, but I think it's Condon with the sleeper being Jack.
I have to agree. I think it will be Condon. I think it's too hard for those two guys not to be 1 and 2 at this point, just depending on preference and bonus. And, the fact that they can get a guy who can play maybe first base, maybe he can play outfield, and that ballpark will be great for him. And I just could not stomach to see Nick Kurtz hitting 40 home runs in Cincinnati every year. So who is going number 3 overall to the Colorado Rockies?
Sorry, my cat's being really obnoxious. I think she just created a marker. I don't even know what that means. At this point, if you're the Rockies, back in 2021, they took Benny Montgomery, who was the second best Montgomery in that draft class, to Braden Montgomery. So they like power. They like hitters. I think there's a big risk with some of the pitchings with some of the pitchers. Montgomery to me is the clear. Like you can argue if Kurtz is in tier 1 or not. Like I kind of lean towards yes, but there's a big 3 for me, and Montgomery's the third of the big 3.
I agree that's the big 3, but I think the Rockies, given their 10 tendencies, they're going to go Chase Burns. I think they're going to put a pitcher there. The Rockies are weird, and they have taken some college pitching. I know it isn't a good year for college pitching, but they take a lot of pitching early on. I think they might throw us a curveball.
If he's their guy, Burns. I don't know if he's got the sinking stuff. Like, does he have enough sink for them? Is my one concern.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Burns. Just something off the board because I think the Rockies. I don't trust what the Rockies do because they're the Rockies. So, all right, Oakland number 4.
In mine, when you look around at what they have and what's left, I think Kurtz is the guy. I think it gives them that big bat that confuses the future of their franchise. There is the Matt Olson comp with him. And they tend to go safer. And who's the safest guy at this point in the draft? It's Nick Kurtz.
Is he the safest guy in the draft? I mean, JJ Weatherholt seems like a guy they would go with, but I think Kurtz has too much upside. I agree. I think they would go.
When you're looking at ceiling versus yeah.
I would agree. They'll go Kurtz here at 4. All right. So I have Nick Kurtz as well to Oakland. I would hate that. But hey, maybe the Guardians can trade for him in 5 years. So
they'll trade him to Atlanta for 35 cents on the dollar.
For another pitcher from Wake Forest, it won't work out. All right, White Sox at 5. I know we have some interesting intel here.
So I guess I didn't give a sleeper at the last pick. Weatherholt would have been the sleeper. Here, sure. Hagen Smith with Bryce Renier is the sleeper. There is a chance that this is if a prep guy goes in the top 5, it's Renier and it's here.
You're going with Renier here?
No, I'm going Hagen Smith, but I'm saying the sleeper is Renier.
I agree. Those are mine too as well. I think if Smith is here, which I think he will be, they'll go Smith, but I would not count out Renier for the White Sox at 5. And I do think Renier is the best high school player in the draft. I know that's people think that's crazy for Connor Griffin being out there, but big fan of Bryce Renier. I know he's a year older, which everyone doesn't really like. But all right, 6 for the Royals. Never know what the Royals are going to do. They're weird.
So as we're sitting here, it's like I've kind of set up a situation where there's quite a bit off the board, but I'm going to put Jack here in this situation. They get, the power hitter. I think they would go for power over average. You can also maybe try to work him out as a pitcher because Kansas City has been so awesome at pitcher development. But he's an interesting talent, but he is a massive risk.
He is a massive risk.
I guess the sleeper is Burns, since I still have him on the board at this point in time. He would just be
you never know what with pitching with them for sure.
Or I guess I guess the sleeper is Connor Griffin because they've gotten a little more prep of late. So I'd actually say sleeper Griffin.
I think they're both equal there. I'm gonna go with Montgomery here because I've had him falling at this point. I probably should have had him go to the White. I think the White Sox, if Montgomery somehow got to 5, they'd be interested in Montgomery, but I'll stop him here at Kansas City because that seems like a talent too good to pass up at this point. And Caglione is a risk. All right, 7 Cardinals. Can move a little bit quicker.
Yeah, when we've looked at the Cardinals, they've been last year was college as well, right? Or I'm trying to remember. They've kind of gone a little back and forth. Yeah, Chase Davis.
Yeah.
And the year before that was Jerpe. Year before that was Michael McGreevy. So they've gone for some pitchers. That hasn't always worked out, but I still have Chase Burns on the board. So still having Burns on the board is an interesting guy for a team who could use some pitching quickly. There's obviously some concerns with just that type of arm anymore, but I think Burns is an interesting player to be left at this point in time.
Yeah, I already had Burns off the board at this point, so I'm going to go with the next safest college hitter, JJ Weatherholt.
He'd be my sleeper here.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone Jack yet in any of my picks, but I don't think Jack is a fit for what St. Louis normally does. He's a little bit too risky. They're going to go a little bit safer, and I think Weatherholt is a guy that has the kind of skills they usually look for. So moving on to 8 to the Angels.
Oh, yeah, Weatherholt sleeper, Savage. I've heard that Montgomery and Weatherholt are the guys they really like.
I think since I haven't had Caglione off the board yet, I'm going to go Caglione here just because this is probably where he fall at latest he can fall. And how funny would it be for the Angels?
I don't think they would like him though, because they like more safe types.
They
look at what they've done
for sure.
So,
but it might be too good to pass him up at this point. So I don't know. There's really nobody else where my board sits at this point. I don't think there's.
You already had Weatherholt. Oh, because you gave Weatherholt with the last pick. That's right.
Yeah, to the Cardinals. Yeah, so I think there's really no safe left. So probably, the other option for them is Honeycutt, and I don't think they would do Honeycutt here. So
no, that's why I had Savage as the sleeper as the next best.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Pittsburgh.
At this point in time, I look at Pittsburgh. They were a team who they were prep last year, right? I want to say, I could be wrong. See, this is my problem. I start to forget things they were Skeens. What am I saying?
Yeah.
But they were prep before that. They've gone with a lot of ceiling. There's a lot of, I look at this as kind of the Connor Griffin, Bryce Renier, Trey Yasevich grouping here. And Pittsburgh, I think, is still not quite good enough to want nearness. They should be going for more ceiling, and I think Bryce Renier is going to go before Connor Griffin. I do. He plays at a program that is well known for its production. While Connor Griffin is facing lesser competition, Renier in California is facing pretty much the best any kid's going to face. I think there's just some safety, even though there is the age gap. I think Renier is he's a two-way guy as well, but I think
yep.
I'm tempted to make him my number one prep player as well.
Yep, I'm going to go with Renier here for the Pittsburgh Pirates as well, ahead of Smith, ahead of Griffin. But then at 10, Jeff, I think that's where Connor Griffin goes at 10 to the Nationals. They love big tools, and he's got all of them.
They love sliding talent. So it is an interesting thing about who is the guy who slides. I used to say they're all about tools as well, but it's typically the slide. Connor Griffin might be considered the slide, depending where you look. But yeah, that's who I would as well slide here. Maybe someone like Seaver King being the sleeper, but yeah, I think it's Connor Griffin here. But
hope you enjoyed that 10-pick mock.
Thank you. As on draft night, we had to do it. I did it last year. It's a tradition. Thank you all for joining us, rating and reviewing, downloading. It helps. Hope you enjoyed the podcast this week. Make sure you are tuning in each and every day, and go Guardians, go.